So I want to spend some time, maybe all the time we have left, talking about your book. So it's Israel on Trial, and you laid out at the beginning of the conversation some of the high-level points that are made. What does this book contribute to the literature on this topic?
I think it goes back to methodology. I think one of the things that we all notice is that when a person is by himself or herself, especially a young person, the data seems to show, and they are on their phone, and some news pops up, a picture, an image on social media, and they look at it. They are not very good. We are not very good. We humans, we shouldn't pin it on young people. We humans are not very good at discerning truth from falsity in that context.
Right.
It's coming to us fast. There's a whole algorithm that's manipulating our brains, that the biggest, most powerful companies that have ever existed in the world, not just the biggest, most powerful companies that exist now, the biggest, most powerful companies that have ever existed in the world, the richest companies in the world with the smartest brains, are spending all of their waking hours figuring out how to manipulate your brain through that telephone. And our minds evolutionarily, we're just not used to that, right? We grew up over hundreds of thousands of years living in small bands where everything was face to face, where we were part of a little kin, a little family, maybe 40 or 50 or at most 100 people. And every single person was essential to the survival of everybody else. And we got our sense of inspiration, our sense of fulfillment, our sense of being and purpose from that reality, that if you fell asleep at night on the watch, everybody gets eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever it is. That was what the human brain was evolved for over hundreds of thousands of years. And now we live in a society where, and by the way, everything there was about truth-telling, right? If you lie, became the ultimate crime, right? Because you could be lying about things that would affect the well-being of everybody else. Is the water poisoned? Did you check it?
Right.
Is the fruit poisoned? Did you check it? You didn't. Yes, I did, and you didn't, and everybody dies, right? Those people died out. Truth-telling was so critical. Now, our brains are just not prepared evolutionarily for what's happened in just the last few years, which is like a millisecond in the evolutionary history of the human brain, to withstand the onslaught, the infinite onslaught of information that's being given us, not face to face, where we're pretty good judging credibility, right? We've been doing that for hundreds of thousands of years. Not together with other people, right? The band of people, the kin, they get together and they say, oh, Roy lied to us, right? We do that together. We say, well, but what about this? And you think to yourself, well, what about the question he asked and the question he asked? And then we adjudge your credibility in that way, face to face, all together, right? Now we're through a screen all by ourselves, and it's being given to us not one piece of information at a time, but an infinite amount of information at a time. And we're just not prepared, whether you're the smartest person in the world or a little boy, to be able to withstand that onslaught. And so one of the things that happens is when you get into the jury box, though, and you get together with 12 people, your fellow citizens, and I'm interested in your experience, I find that together, these 12 people, face to face, as a kin, boy, they get it right the vast majority of the time. Even in these very hard, complex, close cases involving patents and copyrights and serious crimes. Sometimes I go back to chambers and I'm like, whoa, I'm confused.
Right.
And the jurors come out and make it all clear with their verdict. They're amazing in that respect. Well, they're still the same human beings that get it all wrong when they're in their on their bed, judging truth from falsity on their phones. What's the difference? They didn't change biologically. They didn't change psychologically. They didn't suddenly become smarter. What's the difference? Well, now they're using a methodology that's been time tested over the course of centuries, a methodology that's given to them by the judge.
Right.
The judge gives them what we call jury instructions. The lawyers help them through their jury instructions by running through the elements of the offense or the charge or the cause of action, whatever it is. And using that methodology, you're able to go back in evolutionary time and say, okay, let's work together as a kin, as a group, face to face with these witnesses, applying this methodology to be able to use what? Our reason, our logic, our common sense, put our emotion, our bias, our prejudice to one side and spit out the right answer. And that's what the book tries to do. The book tries to say, okay, there is so much noise about Israel. There are so many fake claims about Israel on an almost daily basis. Thousands and thousands and thousands of news stories that are just made up. Pictures and videos of dead babies in Gaza that never happened, that are taken from the Syrian civil war or wherever else. That's not to say that there wasn't terrible trauma in Gaza. There was a war there. War is horrible, and there's always trauma where there's war, just like there is in Iran, in Israel, in Lebanon, in Sudan, in Syria. Anywhere there's a war, there's trauma. But there was nothing especially traumatic about the war in Gaza, and it only seemed like it was because people were being flooded with misinformation and didn't have the tools to be able to adjudge what they were seeing the way they would if they were jurors. And the book says, let's apply the same methodology that we use in the courtroom to these claims.
But stay praying they reach safe. Smashing it with each tape while the radio is oversaturated cliches. The status quo's manufacturing sleep aids, so I know like heroes after that.